Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, New York Sports Central, and today we're going to be discussing the firing of Mets manager Mickey Callaway. Going into it, a lot of Mets fans, me included, knew this was going to happen eventually. A change had to be made. Callaway didn't seem like he had the clubhouse, he had players playing for him. He's a very laid-back, intense guy that I felt like he was more of the player's friend and not like a higher authority figure that pushed them like every game to do their best. Not saying that they can't do that on their own. I just feel like the Mets need more of an authoritarian manager that is just always on the players and gets the most out of them. So Mikey Callaway, his final stat line is 163 and 161. So he did end up 500, but he didn't have any over 500. But he didn't have any playoff appearances as a manager, so that's not good from. He, of course, managed for 3 seasons, and he's gone. The bad pitching choices was evident again this year, where it seemed like he left a guy in who didn't have anything, and he kept him in there until he gave up a bunch of runs, and the game was like out of hand, and it was over. So he really didn't manage that too well, where he was always trying to put Edwin Diaz Familia in there to fix things, but they kept showing him that they weren't capable, and he kept putting him in, and it kind of forced his hand where he had to make Hugo closer, and it was just a mess pretty much from that standpoint. So Callaway was a failed experiment here. He was a pitching coach from the Cleveland Indians when he came over. He was with Terry Francona and his staff when they made it to the World Series against the Cubs in 2016. He came over to the Mets after that year with high hopes and expectations, and he didn't live up to them. We thought he was going to be like the pitching whisperer, since we had a lot of aces on our team, and Matt Harvey was just turned into a non-major league player under Callaway. That is not Callaway's fault, mostly that Harvey went to shit, or crap, whatever you want to call it. But he was out by then. He was in outer space, and he was hurt, and he was trying to come back, and he just didn't have it. So looking forward, who would come in and get hired this offseason to coach them next year as manager? Looking into it, all the guys that seem like they're vying for a spot. At first, all of us, I know, all Met fans want Joe Maddon because he's free now, but he interviewed with the Angels, and of course he spent over 20 years with the Angels system. He was a bench coach in the World Series team under Mike Scioscia. It has been documented that he always wanted to be manager of the Angels, and he's interviewing with the Angels, and it's going well, and why not? The Angels should sign him. He's an amazing manager and communicator, and the players always love him, and he's smart. He's the guy also that came up with the shifts, the defensive shifts in the minor leagues, and he was a manager of one of the minor league teams for the Angels, and so he is really probably going to be a Hall of Famer. He won World Series with the Cubs, brought them their first title since 1908, so he's amazing for doing that. He'd just be a Hall of Famer. But people forget he managed Tampa Bay and brought them to the World Series when they lost against the Phillies in 2008. So he brought a very young and inexperienced team with not really much superstars to the World Series with Tampa Bay Rays. So he's a competent manager, obviously, and he's looking to do good things and for the Angels and hope that they get some pitching. And Trout and Shohei Ohtani can carry that team back to the playoffs, because the Angels haven't been a playoff team in a long time. The other guy that is rumored is Joe Girardi. Obviously now, since his firing from the Yankees 2 seasons ago, he's now commentating on Fox in the playoffs, and he's been on MLB Network occasionally. But it has been stated that he is interested in the job, and the Mets are interested in hiring him. It's going to be close to home for him because he lives in the New York metropolitan area, and he's stated that the Mets is the only team he would consider managing for. And he is an authoritarian figure who will get a lot out of his players. He's not really like the friendly guy, and he can get on players. Of note, obviously, he got on Gary Sanchez a lot, and it was known that he kind of hated Gary Sanchez because it was all offense for him. His catching abilities were awful, and that showed in the playoffs when Gary Sanchez cost them probably the playoffs because of the past balls and all that stuff. So it really shows that Girardi may be a little different, and he could be a different voice in the clubhouse that the Mets could benefit from. See how it goes, see how the interview process goes. But also of note is Buck Showalter. I don't really want to have him. I feel like he's kind of old now. He's aged out. He's more of an old school mind. And I want to get somebody else in there. I don't really want Showalter. Of course, he's coming off managing the Orioles for a long time. He's been in it for a while. He even managed the Yankees a long time ago. He is an old guy who I don't really want in there. He is an authoritarian, and he is tough on players. He may get stuff out of them, so that could be a good thing for him. But I just feel like Joe Girardi is a better option. And then the only other guy that seems like he's in it is Carlos Beltran. Of course, he was a former Met player from 2006 until 2005, 2006 to 2010, 11, 12-ish. He was a really good player for the Mets. He was one of their top guys for a while. He was there from 06 to 2012. Should get that right. He was really good for the Mets, and he 05 to 12. Yeah. And he was pretty much going to be one of the top guys. He was a center fielder. He was a 5-tool player, but he was hurt a lot. He probably could have been a Hall of Famer if he didn't get hurt so much. And it was known when the Astros won the World Series in 2017, 2017, sorry. It was evident that Carlos Beltran was helping hitters and coaching players on the bench when he wasn't playing, and it led to them getting more hits. And it's been a lot of Astro players said that Carlos Beltran helped them. And in his final year, Beltran was able to get a World Series title playing for the Astros for his second time. Of course, he played for them in 2005 when he was traded at the deadline, had that amazing run with Houston with him hitting. Yeah, so that makes sense now. He was on the Mets from 06 until 2012 because he was involved in the trade that brought Zach Wheeler to the Mets from San Francisco. So he's an option. He has no experience. He could be an interesting option, though. I'm curious to see how the interviews go and how the Mets think of him. Of course, they think highly of him because he was a great player as a Met, but no manager experience. So that's interesting. You've seen a lot of managers that have no experience. Aaron Boone with the Yankees, Rocco Baldelli in Minnesota, and Gabe Kapler with the Phillies, that they were just brought in with no managerial experience, and they're doing okay. So see what the Mets do. They get a lot of options. They get a lot of time. There could be a guy that we don't know in the organization that could come in. Guys like Eduardo Alfonso. He's been in the system for a long time, coaching various minor league levels, so he could be an option too. But other than that, let me Tell me your thoughts about what you thought of Callaway's tenure as a Met and who is your choice to be the Mets' next manager. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you soon about more Mets news in the off season. Like, comment, and subscribe, and see you later.